Hey guys, it's Rodrigo Fonador with another episode of Asheville Real Estate News. This episode, like all of our episodes, is brought to you all by American IRA LLC, your local Asheville Custodian, which is super appropriate because today we are talking about flipping houses. We're talking about getting started and the importance of partnering with agents who actually know and understand this business of flipping houses. And that's going to be something that's going to be important to take into account on a market-by-market base. So today, really excited to be joined by Katie and Ashely. They just started with their partner, Amy, a new investment company called Homespun Investment Realty with a focus on working with and providing services to people who are looking to start and continue to build their real estate investment business. So tune on in, let us know what you think, and we will talk to you guys next week. All right, guys, really excited about today's episode. I'm with Katie and Ashely Ciochetti, right? Okay, good. Practice paid off. And you guys are with Homespun Realty, and we've worked together on and off like years and have always been amazed and impressed with what you all do to houses, things that I can't even imagine. And so really excited to kind of talk a little bit about that and about your new venture that you're started with. But how about you all just introduce yourselves a little bit for everybody, talk about how you got into real estate and how long you all been together, working together, et cetera.
Okay. I actually don't know this person at all. I'm just kidding. So my name's Katie, and I started investing in Asheville real estate. I mean, in all reality, I guess 1999.
Oh, wow.
I bought my first house straight out of college here in Asheville. But I became a flipper in 2006, right when the market was
doing great things,
getting ready to soar.
My name's Ashely, and I started in real estate in the private sector in about 2007. And I was very interested in real estate before that. My dad's a developer, so I was like highlighting plats when I was 15, 16 years old for him. So real estate's always been something that interests me.
And so you guys work together, right?
Yes.
And how long have you guys been working together? I guess how long have you all been doing what you're doing right now?
Right now. We started working together in 2012.
Well, 2013 officially. That was when I got licensed, and so then I started working with Katie.
She was doing admin at the office for me before that, and then in 2013 she got licensed and we started doing real estate together.
And did you all start doing it as agents together or flipping and buying properties together?
We bought our first house together in 2014 and flipped our first house together in 2014. She was flipping before that,
and she started helping me make some design choices, and she's trying
needed help.
She's trying to bring me into the future. I was stuck in the 90s a little bit, maybe.
So is that kind of a little bit of the division of responsibilities now when you all do things? Actually, you kind of make sure that they look good, and Katie makes sure that they don't fall down type of thing?
Yes.
To simplify
unless
it?
Unless she has a sick day, then she comes back and there's choices that have been made. It can't be undone. No, I'm just kidding.
Typically things can be undone, but yes, so she's more of the construction side of things, and I'm more of the interior design side of things.
And it's been a long road. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we made choices and decisions throughout that we would not make again, but we've gotten there.
Well, can we expand on that a little bit?
Sure.
Just because I think that, especially like if somebody knows you and they see the pictures that they put out, like you guys have really good polished product. It's always fun to look at. And I think sometimes it can be misleading, not intentionally, but just what those ups and downs are like to get there and to collect the experience to make those good decisions over time. So do you guys mind maybe sharing a decision you would redo differently?
I mean, I can think of about 25. But to give an example, in the beginning when I first started, a lot of times I'd be like, oh, let's pull off the trim and save it, and we'll paint it and put it back. And then eventually I realized, well, that cost me 5 times more than buying new trim.
Just because
the labor involved, or, I'm stubborn. I have a strong learning curve. So I would make decisions like, oh yeah, we can refinish the floors, and
instead of hiring it out, instead of hiring a
and
floor
they would
refinisher.
turn out horrible. And so now I have a flooring person, and they do all our floors. I don't ever touch them, and it saves money by not having to do them 2 to 3 times.
Fair enough. Is there a particular house that maybe stands out that you would maybe would have passed on retrospectively?
Maybe the first one we ever did together.
So where was that house?
Oh, you know where that house was. You know, because you were there. It was
in Black Mountain.
Yeah, that blew my mind. So seeing what you all did there, but I mean, was that so? You probably wouldn't have done it again, maybe.
Well,
but I was curious to know, is like how much of that coming out on the other side, where you're like, wow, we can tackle like maybe things we wouldn't have anticipated.
And it necessarily wasn't all about the house. We butted heads a lot with the city inspector that was out there at the time. And
we get along with him great now. Relationships can turn around. That's been mended.
And there was like a set of stairs in there. Yes. That was the biggest downfall for us. There was a set of stairs, and we couldn't get them to pass code. But they just were like, and they were existing, but that wasn't good enough.
Well, we had changed them a little, I believe. And so I think once you start to change something, then it has to meet current code. So if we had just left them alone and not done anything, then I think that it would have been okay. But I feel like maybe the last 2 or 3 steps or something we had to change.
And we had to bring in like a specialty carpenter to like hand carve every step to get it to pass, and it was by the skin of our teeth still at that point.
In hindsight, I would not have touched those stairs. I would have just left them exactly how they were.
It was a ladder.
As quirky as they were, I would have just left them.
Well, let's go to the opposite side of that. Do you have a memory of maybe the first house that you guys did together that you're like, this is totally worth it, kind of proof of concept, got you excited to just like double down on, buying houses?
You sold us that one too.
Which one was that one?
Majestic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a headache for me.
Oh man, that was one of my favorite houses.
Yeah, I loved that house.
I mean, it was just as far as architecture and age.
Yeah.
I mean, it turned out to be such a beautiful house, and the people who bought it loved it so much, and still do. Like we still hear from them occasionally, and that was just really rewarding.
Yeah, that was a big project. How long were you guys in that one for? Because how big is that house? It was like,
we were there for 9 months.
Yeah.
I don't know if we started right away on it because it was like winter.
I remember exactly when it was. It was first week of February. That deal was on my end fell apart like 4 times before it finally came together, and like we were able to pull it together to do it. But yeah, so 9 months in, and it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Yes. We did a penny floor on that one. Again, that's something I probably would not do again. It was a lot of work.
We hand laid pennies in one of the bathrooms.
Wow.
Yes.
So we got, we made tiles out of pennies, and I was trying to remember. It takes like 500 pennies. I don't know. It's like 3 or 500 pennies to make 1 square foot tile.
Wow, that was
one of those.
So did you collect pennies for like months on end?
So like I was going to the banks and cleaning them out on pennies.
Wow, that's interesting.
That was one of those Pinterest ideas that's just better left for someone else to do.
Fair enough. Well, really excited to talk to you guys a little bit today, or a lot of it, depending how this goes, about what you all are starting. And so what are you starting? And why?
I think the best way to start is just to tell you the name. So it's Homespun Investment Realty. And Homespun is basically simple. So we're trying to make real estate investing simple. Part of that is we're bringing, we have a broad network of providers, be it people that bring us deals, people that lend money, contractors, etc. And so we're wanting to share this wealth of knowledge with people and help them invest, even if it's not as a flip, maybe as a long-term hold or as a first home.
Right.
But to see the value in real estate, because it's been very successful for me, and I'd like to share that with other people.
Yes.
So how new, or when did you all initially get started with Homespun, and how many weeks in months,
We
years?
started talking about this several years ago. The last time we switched real estate companies, I told Katie, I will not switch again unless we open up our own firm.
So what happened for you guys to go from a multi-year conversation brainstorming to, okay, we're acting on this and we're making it happen now?
So we started working with Amy Wilson, a couple years ago. I guess maybe 3 years ago now?
Yeah, a little over 3 years.
3 years ago. And we really hit it off with her. We love how she...
We just have real good synergy, the three of us, and like brainstorming, we can get in a room and come up with a lot of good ideas. And I guess, let me bring it back just a little bit. Like 5 years ago, we started teaching people how to flip houses. So, like our first set of clients that we were successful, they're still doing it today here in Asheville. And, you know, we still are selling two or so houses to them and selling two or so houses for them every year. And Amy, at one point, became one of those people. Now, she's a broker, but she had wanted to get into investing. And so she was a little nervous, so we did her first house with her. And then we did the second house together. And then she sprouted wings, and now she's doing it on her own. But between the three of us, we have a lot of... Our qualities work well together. We all kind of bring to the table something that the other one doesn't have. And so we were like, what better way to kind of birth this company than for us to be together and to hit the street running with as much knowledge as we can to help people.
And what is the biggest differentiation factor from you all versus like any other realty company, right? Because there's going to be a lot of similarities, but like where's the differentiation point where like you guys can be like, this is who we're for, and like this is who are going to feel the best benefits of people working with us?
Well, I can give an example, maybe.
That's perfect, yeah.
We went to look at a house that listed a few weeks ago, and we were looking at it for ourselves as a flip. And there was a couple there that was waiting on their agent, and they asked if we would let them in the house and let them look around. And we said, sure, you know, we'll let you in, but we're in a hurry. Yeah. So we ran through the house, and they were asking all of these questions about the condition and, well, what's going on here? And they thought that it was horrible. And we were like, oh, this house is great. Perfect condition. I don't know. It's so bad. But it seemed like they're, although they had a great relationship with their agent, they really liked their agent didn't know much about structural things with the house. No construction knowledge. No idea about the cost of what repairs or renovations would be.
And that is, you know, just from, not to say that, you know, we can pinpoint it to the penny, but just from knowing this market and knowing contractors and being in construction too, we can walk through a house with someone and pretty quickly get a rough idea about what kind of budget you're going to need. So if you have $50,000 to spend on a house and we walk into a house, you know, we can say this is clearly going to cost over $50,000, or quite the opposite. We can be like, you're gonna be in budget, and it might blow their mind because, you know, there's some things that really scare people that don't cost as much as you might think.
Right.
Most people think the average kitchen renovation costs over $30,000.
Thank you, HGTV.
Yeah, no, what's your average kitchen budget?
I would say $10,000.
Yeah, not 30.
So say like, yeah, definitely not 30. I don't know if you could ever do a house here if you're spending 30, right? Like that'd be.
I think people do it all the time. Well, think about it. I mean, you can spend $6,000 on appliances alone if you're not looking.
Yeah, I guess so. No, that's so. I mean, I guess that's perfect case in point is like you could have an agent who's really good, might know the market well, might know really good at negotiations and everything like that, but they might not know like actual houses super well, right?
Right.
And I guess maybe can you share what are some things that maybe can look scary but aren't really that scary to address, and maybe the opposite end, something that you might think looks okay, but it's one of those things like you should always look like a little closer because it could be a really big deal? Is that
we see a lot of undercut basements in Asheville, in this area. And what that is when, you know, a house is originally built, it's built maybe say 2 or 3 blocks high off of the ground, and at some point they decided they wanted a basement. And so they go in and they actually dig the dirt from under the foundation, which compromises the structure.
Right.
And not that it's not a labor-intensive repair, but you could get somebody in there and they might say, "Oh, this is going to cost $30,000 or $50,000 to fix." But if you have the right people in place, if you have a good structural engineer that you trust, that's not an alarmist, and you have good contractors in place, you can get it done for half that at least.
And yeah, I think that makes sense because like a lot of times structural issues, they're not easy to understand because you don't really know what's happening. You're just like, I know this doesn't look right. It's probably super important for the house. It must be a really big deal.
Right,
so
right. The house is going to collapse.
Let's assume it's a big deal.
Even though it's been here for 100 years, just as it sits now.
So what's something that might not look like a big deal, but you should probably peel back the layers a little bit to make sure you don't get caught off guard?
Remember that house that we bought from you? We peeled back the walls and they were barely standing from that termite damage.
Termite damage can be very hidden because you may go down in the basement and you'll see one little corner that's nibbled on.
Yeah.
And then you look up at the wall and it looks like you see a couple little soft spots, and then you go to open that wall up and it's like the whole interior of the wall is paper shredded. How do you
account for that? Do you just have to get a full-out blown termite inspection, or is that something you can look at?
We put a certain buffer in the budget to assume, if we know that there's some termite damage, then we're going to assume there's a lot. And it is, I will say, even with termite damage, it typically is confined to a certain area. Termites like moisture. So if you have one part of the basement that's a little moist and you have a little termite damage there, then you just assume, it's going to go all the way up. And so you just put that in your budget that we're going to replace those 2 walls.
Makes sense. Going back to Homespun, what is the thing that you guys are maybe collectively or individually the most excited about going out on your own? And from being in your own, I guess you guys would be considered a boutique firm at this point, right?
Yes.
So whether it's hey, we're totally on our own, or there's a specific area of the business that you're the most excited about concentrating on, I'd love to kind of hear what your thoughts are on that.
I'm just really excited to share our knowledge. Katie really loves teaching people about real estate and about flipping, myself included. She's helped me with that. And I think that we're just excited to put that out there for people. So many people are interested in real estate investing, but
Thank
they
you,
just
HGTV.
they just don't know where to start. So I think that part's exciting that we get to share that with people,
and hopefully make it a simple process. It's not scary, it's not unattainable. I think anyone can do it if you have the right guidance.
So what would be steps 1 through 5 to go out and buy your first investment house? Not including, assuming to Homespun Realty, but assuming
steps
that
1 through 5
or 1 through 3
are talk to us.
Yeah. But assuming somebody's listening to this and they're in a market where you all don't work.
Okay.
What would be, obviously there's going to be a lot of depth to each of these points, but just really quickly, is it find a house, or is it go find a good GC? What would be steps 1, 2, 3, or
money?
Find money first.
That would be the first step. Be it, if you have a pool of friends that want to invest, there are plenty of lenders out there that want to lend on investment property like this, or if it's a process where you're going to live in the house, you could do some kind of renovation loan.
So find money.
Step 2. You're going to have to find an agent that has a good pulse on the market.
Okay.
Because you're going to need to get into the deals first.
So somebody who's got off-market deals?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And that's one thing that we really appreciate about working with you and being in the community a long time, is having those connections, because it is important to help people find deals.
So find money, find a good agent.
And then find a good house. And, it's taken me years to create a formula that creates a scenario that the likelihood of loss is very, very low.
Yeah.
And so, getting those formulas right, knowing your market, knowing the spread, and then number for would be sticking to your budget at that point then.
Yeah, see, that's where I always fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
and my great design choices sometimes.
I mean, unfortunately, the house isn't worth what you spend on it. You know, like the market has a worth, you know, it's going to dictate what it's worth. And so overspending is the quickest way
to make a good deal go bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because you go over on budget doesn't mean that the house is worth more because of it.
And that's a mistake people fall into.
Just going down that rabbit hole really, is there an area of a house that you guys find maybe for yourselves or for other people is the easiest to go over budget in? Like, I don't know, kitchen or bath or I don't know.
Labor. Labor is the number one way to eat your budget. And it's kind of smart, I think, in the beginning to get bids instead of hourly labor. Because if you get bids from people, it's a lot easier to say, okay, this is what I have, and this is how much I can go over. And you know, contractors should be asking you for changes if changes need to happen. They should be doing change orders so that you can continue to keep up with the budget. And you might say, well, now we're going to have to do this kind of countertop instead to account for the overage. Or
yes, there's no particular room in the house that.
Okay. I found like labor
over on.
For me. And length of a project are the two areas. Like, I'm like, holy cow, like, how did I just pay this guy this much money over this amount of time? Or my budget going from like 6 weeks to 12 weeks or whatever, and the ripple effects of that.
Yeah, if you're spending $5,000 or so a week on labor, you know, a week can really kill a budget.
Yeah, it can be a big difference. So let's go back to Homespun, because I think this is pretty exciting stuff as far as what you all are looking to do here. So you're focusing on people who are looking to invest specifically, right? Or leverage real estate in a really, like, even if it's their primary residence, but use that as a stepping stone down the road or things like that, right?
Correct. I would love to see people who are just in the regular real estate market looking to buy their first home, even second or third home, instead of thinking about what their specific needs are and whether or not their couch is going to fit in the living room, let's think about this as an investment. It's an investment in your future, and a new couch costs a lot less than a new house.
So what are some of the
things are important?
Yeah, what are some of the different like mental switches somebody might need to make versus being like, oh, I can totally see myself having our kid grow up in this house versus like, wow, am I really going to be happy with the value of this house 10 years from now or whatnot? What are other things that you're looking at?
I think looking at the neighborhood and choosing a house based on location versus the way the house looks or
potential,
or how large the house is or how whatever those specific things are. I think looking at the overall, like she said, potential of the house, the location is everything. You can definitely get a better deal if you move way out into the middle of nowhere. But your house,
if that's what you want, then that's what you want.
Right.
And there's always going to be someone that wants that too. But if you're talking about how to capture the largest pool, so you know if you're drawing a diagram and you want the most people in that circle, then you want to go to a hot neighborhood, or one that you know is going to be hot soon. You know, you might have 12 people looking at your house in that neighborhood, whereas if you're outside of the city in a little niche, then you might have 2 people. So
thinking about how long you plan to be in the house. If you plan to be in the house 2 years, then who's going to be looking for that particular house in 2 years? How many people are going to be looking for it? You know, the longer you stay, maybe the less that it matters. But I think that overall, you have to look at the big picture and what your plans are for the future.
I think you always want to make sure you feel comfortable reselling it pretty quickly at some point in time, because no matter what's happening, life changes, right? And so if things change, what would that change look like if you had to sell, right?
Or if you had to hold. I mean, I think sometimes it's smarter to think about what if I had to hold.
Could you rent it well?
Exactly, and those are like I think when the market was getting hit so hard, the people that really lost are the people that couldn't hold. Because we've seen our market come back, and we're at higher prices than we were then. But so if I moved out today, that we even do that in our own life. We built an apartment in our basement for the whole reason that if we needed to, we could rent that out and pay half of our mortgage. Or if we moved out, then we could make money even in a depressed market.
Well, let's talk about markets.
Okay.
Because I think. So we do this thing every year. We do like predictions. I think last 2 years, I've been like a little bit of like raining on everybody's parade. I'm like, I don't understand how this is going to continue going. Not based on anything other than just like my gut feel. So I think this year around, I don't know if I'm going to make any predictions. I might have to take the easy route out. But would you all, like, if you're thinking 2020, what's your opinion? What's happening in the real estate market here in Asheville for 2020?
Oh, funny that you asked, because I wrote a little song about it.
Oh, did you?
No,
I heard about
kidding.
that. Is this the rap?
I'm saving that for January 1. I'm going to sing that song.
Really?
But today I'm just going to.
We'd love to welcome you back. We'd love to welcome you back for that moment.
Okay. I'll be
I will not be present.
I'll be perfecting the rap before that day. No, we've actually talked about this a lot, because it's, there's always a lot of fear, I think, in real estate because of 2008, 2009. And most people in our generation, that's what they've seen of real estate and the market. And so, we were just talking about the other day, like how people that lived through, not to compare it, but like the Great Depression, something that's very impactful in that generation, the way they live their life after that is always with the fear that could return. And I think that everybody has a little bit of that in them around the housing market now. But I feel like our market, we're really fortunate because we have very temperate climate. We have a very good community and just a really desirable location. So I know we've seen over the last 5 years a big influx of people wanting to move here.
Right.
I don't know the statistics, but I know that our population grows exponentially, like every month. It's and I don't think that's going to change. And so therefore we have to be able to house our market.
Like, people are going to want to move here no matter what. Yeah.
People hear words like market shift, or the market's changing, or it's leveling out, or and I think that they have this fear that, oh my gosh, if the market shifts, it's going to be another recession. We're going to be in the same position, and so they're fearful about how they move forward. I don't necessarily think a market shift or market correction is the worst thing that could happen. I don't think that we're going to see another 2008, 2009 anytime in the near future, hopefully. But I don't think that it would be a bad thing to necessarily see a shift or a correction, because as you said, things, you have a hard time believing that things can just exponentially rise.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily want that for our town. We don't want to price our residents out of the area. We do have an affordable housing crisis here, and I think that we would love to be able to keep the hospitality industry in the city, and that's hard, and it's going to continue to become hard if prices continue to rise exponentially.
And it's a time to get good deals.
It is.
Like if if we get a little shift, and I'm not talking anything major, but just a few percent, it's a good time for people to buy.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. We didn't mention is a big part of our focus, us personally as flippers, is to provide affordable housing. And so we really try to produce at least half of the houses we put out a year be in that low $200,000 range, because we want people to be able to live here and to be able to buy a house that they don't have to put a new roof on, all the plumbing's new, all the electric's new, and that they can move in and not have any added expenses, because it's the largest purchase that they're probably going to make, and they want to feel safe in that.
Yeah, it's tough as far as what to do about the housing and affordability and how to make all of those pieces work, because it's great to have a lot of people come into town. There's a lot of value that brings, but by the nature of it, it also makes it a little bit more challenging when there's that many extra people looking at houses. Prices are obviously going to go up, rents are going up, and so I felt that there's been a little bit of a correction like this last couple of months. I've been asking this. I'm like, is it just my stuff, or the things that I'm touching that things are slowing down and just prices are a little bit, like, nothing crazy, but just something that's like
buyers are just a little more cautious right now, and they are just expecting a little bit more. And I think the houses that are going to market that are not completely either brand new or completely renovated, but they're asking prices that are the same as those, they're really feeling the pain of that, because buyers aren't willing to pay that knowing that they're going to have to invest X, Y, and Z to
Afterwards,
get it to the standard of their neighbors. Because that's one thing I hear all the time. Well, my neighbor's house sold for $500 in one day. It's like, well, that's not you're selling a different product.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. Well, as we're wrapping up, any further thoughts on Asheville flipping houses or anything like that? And then I want to give you a chance to talk about Homespun again and how to get connected with you.
I mean, Asheville's a great market to flip in.
Mm-hmm. You can still find deals, right? That's what I was meaning to ask.
You can still find deals.
Even though it's competitive, you guys are keeping your pipeline full.
Yes. We've been holding, 6 or so houses at any given time in different stages of the process. So it's possible. And we're keeping our investors' inventory full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Parting thoughts on anything, Ashely?
No, I mean, I feel good about the future. I feel great about the product that we're giving people. I think that there's so many potential investors out there that really want to break into this market and they just don't know where to start. And that's where I think that Homespun Investment Realty is a one-stop shop for that. We really can help you.
So how does somebody get connected with you guys on the Homespun front?
They can. Well, we're still in the process of launching our website. That should be up in the next few weeks.
Okay. So by the time this comes out live, it'll probably be up and running.
It'll be up and running.
So what's the website?
HomespunInvestmentRealty.com.
Yes.
Pretty easy.
Are you sure about that, Ashely?
If y'all couldn't see her mouth move, she said, "Oh, yes, that's awesome."
So HomespunInvestmentRealty.com, and I guess y'all's contact information is up there and everything like that.
Yep. Or you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Not so much on Twitter. I'm not very good at keeping up.
You might find us.
Maybe.
You might have to look a few weeks back. No,
yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming out. Homespun Investment Realty, and then on Instagram, Facebook, connect with you guys. Yes. Get started on investment properties.
Yes.
So,
sounds great.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you so
out, y'all.
much.
And good luck, and see you guys soon, hopefully. So
I'm sure.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. There you go. Now, if you're trying to get started investments here in the Asheville area, now you know where to start. So pass this on to your friend. Review the podcast. Share it with somebody else. We always appreciate your support. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.